All right, we're back. So we have one more cut, and you put this in there, and I think it's a great point, and I think this was so lost in the evolution, I guess, of social construct, where after women's rights, after women were introduced into the workforce, it became a very normal thing for two people to have to work in the household and to have your kids be part of some sort of social institution to for schooling and pretty much to raise them because out of the 8 hour work period during the day, I mean, you obviously can't watch your kids if there's two people working in the household. So now your kids are pretty much forced to go to either a school or a nanny or a babysitter or something, and you're forced to not actually be raising your kids during a portion of the day.
Not only are you not raising them, but somebody else is raising them for you, and you're paying them to do it.
Right.
So that's basically my stance on it. So basically, ladies, find yourself a man or men, become a man that can work and provide for a woman in a family of, two, three, four kids, so that you're not paying somebody else to raise your kids. And if you think that $100,000 isn't enough to raise a family with a woman and four kids, you're absolutely insane. Just stop spending so much money
Right.
because you could raise a family of six people with $100,000 and still have enough to max out your 401k and invest some into a
You could
personal
have
brokerage.
with $100,000 a year, you could do a lot with only as a one income.
Yeah, especially if your woman, your wife, the woman at home is going to stay home and raise the kids. And so, I actually can't really put it much better than this dude in the show here. So if you want to go ahead and just play this, he basically explains every point that I'm going to make.
Yeah, here we go.
If you get the woman out of the house and working, then you're going to increase the tax because girls are making more money now, and so they're taxed more. So the governments are making more money, and then you're killing two birds with one stone because now you're separating the man and the wife. So the man has less authority over the wife, and they're more separated. They're not as bonded. They're not as close together. And then you also send off your kids to school. So the family is separate, and when the family is independent, the family is not strong. They're easier to control. They're easier to manipulate, and the government makes more money off of it. So the idea of me working really hard, making a bunch of money, keeping my wife at home, keeping us close, and then she's with the kids, she's close to the kids, and she's programming the kids. The government does not like that because the government does not get to push what they want to my kids. They make less money because my wife doesn't work, and we're just stronger and more resilient towards them.
Yeah, I mean, how much more do you need to say? It's 100% true. It used to be a normal thing, and now it's almost like a shunned thing.
Yeah, I can't. I wish I could give proper credit to whoever posted that because it was from they didn't give credit, and it was from a meme account that I saw this. So this guy puts it exactly right. They want your wife to work because they can tax your wife. Then your wife is separated from you, so she works 8 hours a day. You work 8 hours a day. You're not with each other. Instead of the 8 hours a day that she would be spending with your children, now the government's spending with your children, raising your children, and teaching them basically whatever they want. So at the same time, they're taxing you and your wife. They're also raising your kids on the tax money that you're sending them, so that on your dime, they're raising your kid, teaching them whatever they want to basically hate you.
Yeah.
So,
So there's multiple ways to look at this, and I think the way that a lot of conservative people, well, yeah, right, I guess more right-leaning people look at it is they know that the public schools are programming our kids in a way to make us sheep, right? Most people, especially on the right, know that, but their solution is not to become more independent. Their solution is to try to change, or at least try to complain about the problems enough to where it may change the schooling system, or it may, change laws, or it may change something, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen unless you actively go about it and do it yourself, and it's not going to change. And even if it does change, like even if you can influence the public schooling system to some degree, it's still not ideal to have some people that you don't even know raising your kids, because even okay, let's say you do get a good teacher that has good morals and values. they're still once they teach your kids throughout that day, it's going to be harder for you to be able to teach your kids something because now they're going to look up to that person as the person that taught them certain things rather than you. And now it's going to be harder for you to go about programming your kid or teaching your kid to whatever you want them to learn. And I've already seen
Yeah.
this. I've already seen this in certain aspects where, like, you'll have a kid come home and they'll misunderstand something that a teacher said because maybe it's a classroom, so the teacher is talking in general to all the kids. They're not like
For
specifically
25 kids.
right. So a young kid may misconstrue something that a teacher said, and now they think that that's fact because that's their teacher that told them. So now they come home and they say something that's wrong, and you try to correct them, and now they're like they're in disbelief because you're not the teacher, and my teacher taught me this. Even though they may have misunderstood it or may have, not they're not really grasping what the teacher was actually trying to teach, it's harder for you to then teach your kids certain things that you want to teach because now they're more influenced by the person they see 8 hours a day rather than their parents that they only see for a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours at night.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And so I I w- will and do catch a lot of flack for the fact that I'm adamant that I will be homeschooling my children. I've had this conversation with my future wife, and she is pretty much on board. There's really no downside to it. Homeschooling kids have better outcomes. It's not that expensive, contrary to popular belief. You can homeschool one child for less than $2,000 a year. You can teach them better. It's more efficient. So the amount of stuff that I could teach my kid at home in one day would take me 3 hours to teach them what it takes them 8 hours at school. I could teach them the proper values instead of teaching them this diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. And so I'm going to be homeschooling my children. And we've actually set ourselves up, and this is basically what we just discussed in the Jordan Peterson section of this. And if you haven't watched that segment yet, go back and watch that, where you need to set yourself up financially to the point where you're able to do stuff like homeschool your children, where only one of the people needs to work or both of them can work part-time, you know, and figure it out. Because if you're not making enough money, then you're not going to be able to do this. And I understand that completely, but you've got to figure it out.
But
You've
you
got to
but
figure it
though but
out.
you need to not you need to not come to terms with that and accept that as reality. You need to get that fire and you need to go out and actively work towards that.
Yeah. And so I really don't ask a lot of people. My younger sister, for example, she's 19 years old, and I've gotten her into this investing scheme. I've pulled her into the old Ponzi scheme where all I do is I say, "Hey sis, let's do $5." I started with, "Hey, can we do $3 a week into your Roth IRA?" She said, "Sure, I'm interested." I explained it to her. I said, "This is what happens. This is how it works. Blah 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 blah. Let it sit. Don't touch it. If you ever really really need it, we can take it out. $3 a week, you won't miss it." Then she got used to the $3 a week, and I said, "Hey, can we bump it to 5?" And she got used to the $5 a week, and I said, "Hey, can we bump it to $8.50?" She said, "Sure." Now she got used to the $8.50 a week just not being there. And this is like not me exaggerating, because some people literally live so close to the bare minimum on paycheck to paycheck that start with $1 a week. Stuff $1 a week under your mattress. Once you go a month or two without needing that dollar and you get used to that dollar being gone, bump it to 2. Then when you get used to the 2, bump it to 4. Then 8, just work your way up. That's kind of how I started. I started super low, and now to the point where I'm looking at being able to homeschool my kids when I'm 35 years old, where I can sit down with 3 different kids at one time and have enough money invested and put away to the fact where I don't even have to go to work for 5 years if I don't want to, kind of thing. So that's the kind of stuff you need to be thinking about. So my motive is I want to invest enough money that I don't have to go to work so that I can homeschool and raise my own children. That's my motive.
Right.
Somebody else's
Absolutely.
motive might be, I want to buy a yacht. If that's your motive, let it be your motive. But my motive is that I want to homeschool my children because I don't want my wife or myself going to work to pay tax to the government for them to use those tax dollars to then raise my children in ways that I don't see fit.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I don't have any more points on that, do you?
No, I think we hammered it pretty good. I think that
Yeah.
that kid or that dude hammered it pretty good as well.
Yeah.